What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be on this 2012 Hyundai Sonata, and I'm excited to check this one out. In my opinion, this is when Hyundai became a manufacturer that you actually think about, and that's actually competitive. So let's check it out. Starting off as usual with the exterior, I think this is a fantastic design. I think this car is very handsome, very well proportioned, has very nice lines on it. This is a lower tier trim. Doesn't have a whole lot of options on it, but you still get these alloy wheels, which are nice and contemporary. But it's missing things like fog lights, and the wheels are on the smaller end. Headlights are a little clouded. I believe the upper trims have LED headlights as well. As you can see, this car's black. No sunroof. The upper trim's got a sunroof. I'm a big fan of these taillights. They're nice and aggressive. Got the turn signal right here and then the reverse light right there. Nice badging. Bit of an ouchie right here, but that's not too bad. Overall, it's really straight. I think it is a really nice looking car, and it's when Hyundai and Kia started designing cars that looked like Hyundai and Kia had their own design language. They weren't just vaguely copying another design. And this car came from Florida, and every car that comes from Florida brings a little bit of Florida with it, unfortunately. Moving on now to the interior. You can see this car has a tan or beige cloth interior with some black striping on the seats. The steering wheel I really like. I think it's an attractive steering wheel, and I really love how the seat color is integrated into the steering wheel and the steering wheel buttons. On the steering wheel itself, you got controls for your radio mode, cruise control, and then you got your trip computer controls and your hands-free phone, even on this base model. And you can see the interior color continues on the door panel and the lower part of the dash. It's a very attractive design. And speaking of attractive, I love these gauges. This is one of the best clusters in recent history, I would say. You got your giant tachometer on the left, and temperature gauge, and a little driver information display if you open the door. And then a giant speedometer on the right with fuel gauge and your gear indicator. And then that little screen in the middle is controlled by these trip buttons on the steering wheel. And it gives you all your fuel range, your average, your instant, your average speed, time, trip A, trip B. All the usual stuff that you'd expect. Going down the center stack, this one does have a phone holder, but you got a clock up here, which I'm sure you can see at night. The radio, again, this is a pretty base model, so it doesn't have the big screen, but it does have Bluetooth, which is nice. And I'm sure it does have aux as well. And then you got the climate control. And this is one of the best climate controls I have ever seen, ever. I think this is so well done. You select the mode by pressing on this little person, this little diagram of a person. So that's feet and face. And then defrost is a button, rear defrost, button for AC, recycling, and then your fan speed and your temperature are both knobs. I just think it's a fantastic design. It looks contemporary and it's easy to use. Going below that, got a little cubby, which is good for holding napkins. Got some storage, your aux and your USB. 2 power outlets. Coming down the center console, we got the shifter, which is a really good shifter. Moves in a straight line, nice leather boot, and a button to release it. Got 2 big-ass cup holders with some metal inserts that were an embellishment by the owner. Then you got storage center armrest, which is covered in leather. This is quite an upgrade from the center armrest in the Hyundai Elantra I just filmed. This feels substantially sturdier, and it's covered in a nice leather instead of cloth. Got a nice big-ass storage cubby in here, and it is 2-tier for putting stuff. The materials in here, they would have felt great when they were new, but they have not held up as well as other interiors. The dash has some cracks in it, but it's not too bad. You do have some nice wood effect trim on the doors here, and a nice soft touch portion on the door armrest. All your power accessories on the door. Got your gauge, eco mode, a gigantic button for traction control. Down here, got your fuel door release and your trunk release. Rear view mirror with garage home link and SOS. Sunglasses, map lights, dome light, everything you'd expect. It's all nicely well laid out, good materials, good design language. I'm a fan. Let's check out the trunk now. Open the trunk with the button on the dash, but this car also does have a key fob that you can use. See, the trunk is quite sizable. There's some stuff in it, but you could fit a lot of junk in here. You do have releases for the rear seat back, and you got about 16.4 cubic feet of cargo space, and you got a handle. You got a grab point to close the trunk so you're not getting fingerprints all over it. Why doesn't every car have that? Everything should have that. But anyway, let's move on to the engine now. There's stuff to talk about with that. This thing's been warmed up already. So those of you who know. But for those of you who don't, this is Hyundai's Theta 2. Not Beta 2, Theta 2. And this engine, there's some controversy with this engine. This engine was the subject of a massive recall, 470,000 vehicles. These engines are prone to excessive noise and seizing. And a lot of owners of these Hyundai Sonatas and Kia Optimas with this engine had to get them replaced. But to my knowledge, this one's original, and it sounds just fine. It is direct injected, as you can probably hear. There is a lot of space in here to do stuff. Got your brake booster, brake fluid, coolant right there, washer fluid, radiator cap, got your radiator hose, nice plastic intake, belts, alternator right down there. Got your air conditioning lines right there. I know one of the options on this car, I believe it was a 2-liter turbo. And I'm not sure the reliability on that. This is a 2.4. I'm not sure how much power it makes. I would guess in the 150s. But it's definitely adequate. You also got the ECU right here. And your battery. That's enough of that. Time to drive the thing. And the hood struts are bad, so. Time to drive this car. Alrighty, we are driving the 2012 Hyundai Sonata. If it wasn't evident already, I like this car. I think this thing is brilliant. I think the design language is awesome. It's, as I said in the intro, this is when, this period, like the early 2010s, is when Hyundai and Kia really started to come into their own and made designs that were unique to them instead of loosely copying a design that already existed. Like the Hyundai Sonata that came before this, which is a car I like a lot, by the way. But it's very similar to the Honda Accord. It's got very similar proportions, very similar styling. And it just didn't look like a unique thing, but this does. This this Sonata and the Kia Optima of the same year range, they have their own design language. And I think that's awesome. And they did a really good job with it, I think. So I actually have previous history with a Hyundai Sonata of this generation. My mom bought one of these things new in 2013. And the one that she had all the bells and whistles. She got it loaded out. The only thing that she didn't get was the turbocharged engine. And I remember being in that car. I remember she liked that car. And it was nice. Hers had leather. This one has cloth, but I actually prefer the cloth. The leather in that car didn't feel that great. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was synthetic leather or plastic leather or something, but it didn't feel that great. We previously had a 2006 Hyundai Sonata. And that had leather as well, and the leather in that felt so much better than the leather in the 2013 Sonata that my mom had. But driving impressions of this car, the throttle response is good. The engine makes good power. The gearing is quite good. It is a 6-speed automatic. To my knowledge, the transmissions in these things don't go bad. I don't see a ton of them on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or anything with bad transmissions. They mainly have blown engines. Unfortunately, this interior has not held up as well as other interiors that I've experienced. The Hyundai Elantra I did, the interior of that has held up quite a bit better than this. The steering wheel's worn on the top and the dashboard has cracks in it. It came from Florida. It spent a lot of time in Florida. And it's hard to beat the sun. You know, you can use dash mats or sun shields and things like that, but the sun will take its angel share. And like I said before, every car that comes from Florida takes a little bit of Florida with it. It is what it is. So, driving impressions, the steering is good. The brakes are good. Generally, it feels pretty good. The transmission feels decent. It is a little mushy. It's not the most crisp shifting transmission I've ever felt, but the Elantra that I just filmed was a little bit crisper than this. But that was a complaint my dad had about the 2006 Hyundai Sonata that we had. That one had the V6, and it was quick. And that was my first car when I turned 17, and that was so much car for a 17-year-old. But the transmission in that was mushy as well. But the engine makes good power. Right around 2,000 RPM, right around 2,000 RPM, low in the rev range where you want it for daily driving. It's good. And if you wanted performance, you would buy the 2-liter turbo. You know, its engine is acceptable. It will keep up with traffic, no problem. As far as other things, you know, it's quiet in here. There's not a lot of road noise. The ride is firm but well controlled. There's no rattles or anything or squeaks or anything. You may see my phone is shaking, but that's because I have it mounted to the windshield. We're on a bumpy road, and the suspension is firm. And I'm really far away from you because the windshield has a very steep rake to it. And no matter where I put it, you guys would be blocked by the mirror. So I had to put it way far away. But that is okay. So now it's time to answer the question, should you buy I believe this generation of Elantra, not Elantra, I keep calling this an Elantra, the Sonata. I believe this generation of the Sonata went, I want to say until 2018, but I'm not sure. You'll correct me in the comments. But should you buy this generation of the Sonata? Yes, you should. I think these are excellent cars. If you find one that has had the motor recall done, then you'll get a car that has a great interior, you know, really well thought out design, really good design language. It's a very attractive car. The engine, when it works, is good. You know, it has the features that you want. It's got all the power stuff. It's got Bluetooth, got air conditioning. The seats are really comfortable. These things are good. I am a big fan. And this was a very competitive car when it was new. Like, at this point in time, Hyundai and Kia had more to offer people than just a good value. You know, this is a compelling car. This is compelling in comparison to the Accord and the Camry that was out during this year range. And it's like, Hyundai and Kia now, they make really cool, interesting stuff. They have their own identity, and they didn't before. And this car and the Hyundai Elantra that came out around this same time, that was the genesis of it. And that's just so cool. And I really think they did a good job with this car. So that's enough of listening to me gush about it. I appreciate you guys watching. If you like this video, please subscribe. My goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers by some point. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.